Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm getting myself bumbled up in this way, but welcome to It's For You. Today is the seventh day of our 12-day program for the 12 days of COP28. And we want to welcome everybody here at what I have always considered and still consider as the most central and important piece of all the different segments that we have. And that is a moment for ourselves, a moment for prayer and meditation, a moment for us to gather back and to reconnect with the motivations that we have ourselves, why we are engaged in the endeavors that we have. And today we have to help us with that, to lead us with that, Nahid Khalid Khan, who has experienced many things through her life and is going to help us with meditating and help us with that along through. So without much more ado, let me pass you over to Nahid, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all those who can hear me. Well, for us, for me, it's a big honor, first of all, to be speaking on such an occasion, this COP28, which is related to environmental and global climatic changes. I will first start Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين رب إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. These are a few verses from the Quran which means that we always are somehow or the other in the need to pray to Allah for the best each minute that passes in our lives. And we need to meditate and pray to Allah in our daily routine. I think a man has gone far away from the religion and away from the Creator who created this world. It was pure, it was handed over to a man in the purest form that we could think. And we never realize that it is so precious to be taking care of what we have, nature, whether it was water, whether it was earth, whether it was the atmosphere. And we were born in the cleanest environment. And way back, if I look back into the past, we never had such calamities. We never heard of the name tsunami or hurricanes, which are named in a different way, and floods. Everything was uh, going on very smoothly all over the world, each corner of the world. But as you all would agree with me, I will, inshallah, pray in the end for all these disasters. But what the need of the hour is that we need to meditate, we need to take a break. We've gone too far away into this mechanized world by just clicking the phones, the televisions, and sitting for hours around it, and not we don't have a chance to meditate. While in our religion, Islam, as you all must be knowing, that 5 times there's a call to prayer in the mosque, and then we have to meditate and we have to pray to Allah Almighty, because these times in between the 5 prayers have gone so peacefully. So we thank Allah and we bow down to Him. We if we observe us our prayers, it's a perfect meditation positions for a human body, soul, and mind. So 5 times we rise early and we start. Sorry, excuse me. Our meditation with the prayers to Allah Almighty for all the betterment of and safety uh, that relates to everything. So meditation for a human being and a human body is more important than your medicines and your artificial medication like vitamins and these. We've stopped, even meditating. We don't even have time to go and appreciate what is there in our garden. We have parks everywhere. And then a man is so confused in this hustle bustle of the world, and everything has become so complicating, and the cities, that everything is polluted with cars running around, with buses, with factories all over. And now in the end, we what we do is we are just fed up and we can't handle the situations. So then we go and get peace of mind and meditate and sit in a place where we just need peace. So in the end, nothing can save us, whether no matter how scientific research is, and the globalizing, and so many inventions. Nobody can cure or save you from these disasters, natural disaster, the environmental changes. So a man is 100% responsible first by polluting it in every way, whether it is the cars, the industrial industries, the gases and electricity and thing. So we again have to turn to nature for meditation, for peace of mind, and to cure. And that is the whole cure for the world. Everybody would be at peace if you just take out some of your precious moments and just meditate to the creator who created all this, and then help us, and we ourselves are at peace. We should not run so fast, but rather have some breaks to give ourselves some time, our soul, our body, our heart. And that is the only way that you sit, meditate, and pray, even if it is peace. We run to Allah and we ask for forgivenesses and we ask to help. But when it is peace everywhere, even then, we should have a connection with our Creator. And then we should be praying, even if it's peace everywhere. And I think that is the need of the hour. We need to just sit, meditate, pray, and ask for help from Allah, because the rest of the resources have failed to cure. And then we need to make an effort not to pollute the water, the natural resources that we have, and take care of everything in any form we can, in any part of the world. And now I think we'll raise our hands, and I will just make dua to Allah Almighty to save us from all these disasters. And Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I pray to Allah Almighty that to have mercy on the entire world, all the people in the world everywhere, and to bring safety, peace, love amongst the humanity, no matter what religion we are. We are all human beings. We are created by Allah, and we all should pray that Allah should save us in future from such disasters, destructions, floods, tsunamis, volcano eruptions, earthquakes, war. There should be peace. I hope in every and each corner of the world, we all should make an effort. And Allah, you help us that we to make an effort so that we can help each other in all this and all the disasters. And we pray to you, Allah, to help us no matter how sinful we are. You are still the creator. You are merciful. You keep forgiving us no matter what we do. So forgive us, and let's hope a new beginning. Give us a chance to have a new beginning for a clean environmental, globally what we were given, the earth, the skies, the atmosphere, the waters. We should purify that so that we live a very nice, peaceful life where there are no ailments, where there are no COVIDs and such other diseases that we face now. And may Allah help us to create peace and love, and we should just help to cleanse everything, whether that is our own body, soul, heart, and the rest of the world. Each one should pray to Allah to help us, and that is the need of the hour. So, in the end, I thank you all and I pray for you all that we would not see such disasters, these global warming and all these things which were unheard of. So, that is the only hope we have. But we all need to take part in it and make an initiative to help everyone in this world to not to be having such disasters. Ameen. Can you play the Naat now?
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. يا اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Oh my Lord, my sins are like the highest mountain. My good deeds are very few, they're like a small pebble. I turn to you, my heart full of shame, my eyes full of tears. Bestow your forgiveness and mercy upon me. Ya Allah, send your peace and blessings on the final prophet and his family and companions and those who follow him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My eyes full of tears, bestow yours.
Thank you so much. I hope I was able to convey what I wanted to. And
all the best for your conference.
And I wishing you the best for the conference, the rest of the days. And if anything we can do, be our guest in Pakistan. I would invite you to come over and see what we have. So
Thank you.
I would like everyone to come, inshallah.
And-
all the best and best wishes for everyone. Thank you. Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum.
Thank you. And thank you. Thank you there. And it's always important, I find, to be reminded that, as Nahid Khalid said, even in peace, we should meditate and give thanks. I think that is an incredible message for us to carry with us. It is not only during the times of turmoil that we turn to God and that we turn to ask and offer our prayers, but that we should do that even during the times of peace, because only then will we find the true path forward for us. So I'm going to leave the rest of this afternoon sessions in the capable hands of Tim and Collins, and please enjoy. And we're going to be talking about sharing conversations with the people behind who have been very active in making this forward, from the East Africa campuses and colleges and student Green Network. And I'll come back later together with Richard on really our call, the central call of It's For You and all the activities there, which is for us to take our own choice, make that choice about how we want to make it possible to keep the oil and the gas and the coal that seems impossible to restrain, how we can make that possible to do so. And that was going to call on each one of us to believe in that. Okay, thank you.
Great. Welcome to our viewers on our second session of today's, 12 days of COP. Today is the 7th day. We are past the half part of the day, and it's really great. And as we've been reminded during the prayer meditation session, Collins, that we should not only meditate during times of adversity, but also when things are going on well. We should also take time and meditate. I think that for me was really something. And how are you, Collins? How are you doing?
Thank you, Tim, and so glad to see you today. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our viewers. Yes, indeed, we thank our mom Nahid for leading us through that prayer and meditation part, and the whole aspect about peace. Prayer being part of our daily routine, not just in the times of crisis, but something we take it upon ourselves to always just remember, and acknowledge God and His power, even during these 12 days of COP. Really appreciate that and for the time she has given us, and glad that she's connecting with us all the way from Pakistan, and I also feel the same way that I'll have a chance to visit Pakistan one of these fine days. I also want to thank David for leading us through and kicking us off, and hoping to connect with them later on. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Collins. And to start us off, we are going to have interesting conversations. We are going to have, I think, the people who've steered this thing from behind. We have incredible engagement from David and Richard about transformation ownership. We'll also be having some conversation by the EACCGN, that is East African College and Campus Youth Green Network. We'll be having a conversation with them, and then we'll also be going back to Pakistan again to join a conversation by one Khan Salman, among other engagements that we're going to have. But for now, we are going to invite David and Richard. We're going to talk to us about transformation ownership and what it means, what it takes to put oil, coal, and gas under the ground for sustainable environment. So I want to welcome them to come here on board on the stage and and share with us what transformation ownership is all about. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Unmuting first. I remember to unmute, so that's a good thing. So
it's always a good start, I find.
Yes. It's often quite tricky. Maybe we'll have Collins also to join us in amongst this, if it's okay along. So yeah, Richard and I, we started from an investment background. We spent 30 years making money for the big money, for the pension funds, for the endowment funds, and even sovereign wealth funds. And in that journey, we came to a realization that the problems we face in the world today needs us to take ownership of them. needs us to feel that we have to ask, as one of our guests in the shows in the previous days, Andrea Mason mentioned, we have to ask, what do I really want? And that's a question that has been answered by many of the people who have appeared. And they have expressed it in terms of leaving behind a legacy, in terms of making the world better in some ways, and in terms of ensuring that the future that we have is one that we want to desire. And that needs us to actually make it happen. So, Richard, can you hear me there?
I can hear you fine, yes. No, I think it's all about figuring out what really matters to you in life. And here I have a strong message for the younger ones of you. It gets easier as you get older, trust me. It really does. So, like David said, we come from a very particular sector of the world economy. We worked in finance for a very long time. We started this journey when we left the industry, more or less exactly 3 years ago. And our thoughts were put together into a book called The Unsustainable Truth, where we kind of assembled all our thoughts. And in there, from that, grew the realization that for us to go on and enjoy the things that really matter, certainly to me, we actually need to fix climate change. And climate change stems almost solely from our overuse of oil, gas, and coal and the heating that it brings to our common home. And from there, the idea of how you can go about actually creating a practical solution that will enable us to cap our emissions grew and grew and grew. And it took us to It's For You, where hopefully we can explain why we think this is eminently possible, needed, and actually something that should come from each and every one of us on this planet. Hence, it's for you. And then, if you realize that it is for you, we can actually go about dealing with it.
So I'd like to pick that up a little bit. And we've heard about many different problems, many issues that we face. We've heard about issues with our environment. We heard about the importance of reforestation. We've heard about the importance of empowerment, of equality amongst people, and all those things. And when Richard and I looked at this, we asked ourselves, what is the one thing? Is there one thing that we think is really driving, and that if we took it away, it would make some difference along? And where we came to was that this burning of oil and gas and coal, because embedded in this is not just the physical science parts about the emissions of the gas and so on, is the fact that it is also the largest infrastructure, and embedded with it is all the vested interests that holds power in the place of power in the way that it is, that keeps the economy into functioning in a way that traps us in the way that it is, even trapping the people who own these assets at the moment. So we came to this realization that what we need to do is to transform that, to change that ownership. To change the ownership is actually very different. We spoke with a gentleman, Preston, a remarkable gentleman in the United States, who actually have gone and taken that step. And what he has done is he has actually gone and said, you know what? I can own these, and then I can make money from it. I can make them into carbon credits. And then actually that creates a whole different sort of world. We just want to provide a moment where he explains a little bit about that. And here we go.
So I think there is a hesitancy to pay for what you and Richard and all of us are working on here, which is to really go after the ownership of the minerals.
Yeah.
Because I think unless you live here in the United States, it's really government-owned minerals. And it seems kind of like an audacious task to go after purchasing or getting some sort of an operating agreement with the government for control of those minerals. Here in the U.S., obviously, roughly 66% of the minerals are owned by people other than the U.S. government. So it makes it a lot easier.
Yep.
But the next step is, okay, so we're going to buy these minerals, David and Richard. So how do we actually have a return on our investment? And so I think there's an unfamiliarity, or well, there's beginning to be a familiarity. Is that, wait, you can make carbon offsets out of these things? But then they immediately come back and say, well, you're going to have 100% leakage because you're going to take your coal out and then they're just going to mine it someplace else.
Yep.
And, that's an argument that everyone throws out because it's just I don't want to do it, so it's leakage.
So Preston talks about the fact that you can actually take ownership. And he points out exactly the comments that I'm sure you yourself are thinking about. Well, that doesn't stop someone else from doing something else. And all through this, Tim, for example, and others have pointed to the story of the hummingbird. When the forest is on fire, the hummingbird flies towards it, carrying a little drops of water. And this becomes a question of saying, well, actually, what can we do if we decide to go forward? The first part, our question to him, was the realization people have of thinking that actually, should we be paying to take the rights of these assets away from the existing owners? There's a sense that somehow it will naturally happen as long as we create enough renewable energy. But as Richard is going to explain, it doesn't happen because as long as you can still make money from it, and as long as the people who owns it needs that money in order for their own livelihoods, you have a problem. Richard.
Yes, thank you. We're going to attack this problem from two sides. The first one, I think, is something we can all agree on, and it's not particularly controversial, is that the cost of renewable energy keeps coming down. It is now very, very, very competitive. And in a lot of places, renewable energy is cheaper than oil, gas, and coal as a source of our energy. That means that actually the renewable energy should displace, or in a simpler word, should interchange with our oil, gas, and coal. So when we bring on a new solar-powered field or a new wind turbine, or even a new hydropower plant, we should at the same time shut down a coal-fired plant. But we don't. Instead, we keep using both. And the reason why we don't shut down the coal plant is actually very, very simple mathematics. The people who own the coal plant and the coal fields, they need to make money. It's very easy to portray them as bad people who doesn't consider the harm they're doing. But the unsustainable truth is that a lot of these assets are owned by people like you and me, Tim and Collins, all over the world. Through our savings, we have put money into various investment schemes, pensions, and other savings forms that within them are looking to generate a return for people who need that return to have their living. Just think of all the retirees all over the world who need that money to sustain themselves in retirement. So as long as these coal, oil, and gas-fired plants and the mines and the drilling operations continue to make money, they will not get shut down because they actually need the return from these owners. So we need to find a way of saying, we can take them over because it actually makes economically sense, like Preston explains, to instead use carbon offsets. Even if the renewable energy plant makes $10 by selling renewable energy, I will keep burning the coal, even if it only makes me $1 and someone is prepared to actually use that energy. And everything we've seen over the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years, while we have rebuilt all this renewable energy, is that someone somewhere will still use the oil, gas, and coal that we dig up.
And this is a pattern that we constantly see. And here's Preston again explaining a little bit about that basic mathematics in that sense of our reserves and so on.
And then the other argument that I run into is and that people don't understand is, I'm going to use fake numbers just for simple math for Richard and David and I. Let's just say we have in the United States 100 million tons of active mining projects at any given time today. Okay, so let's just say we're mining 20 million tons a year. So it'd be 100, 80, 60, 40, 20, 0.
Yeah.
Okay, but the reality is, no, it's 100. Last year was 100, and next year is 100.
Exactly.
Well, why is that? Because we're adding reserves on a daily basis to make up for that we're removing.
And
there
that
you have the problem.
is a fundamental, essential problem. There are two sides we need to look to this. One is, how do we stop those reserves from being coming out? The other is, how do we replace, as we produce the renewable energy, have it genuinely replace the oil and gas and coal that we're currently using? We need to connect them back up. And that's where we come to you. And that's where we come to the situation that Richard and I found and realized, which is that at the end of the day, it is not enough to trust on regulations and governments to do this, because governments change. And governments can only do it by increasing taxes. Increasing taxes hurts people. They vote for another government. That government then lowers those taxes. And you end up in this interminable cycle where we forget it's the people that matters. And it's our own choices of what we really want. And that's the way in which we can lead this forward and actually engage in it in the way that we can help the projects that everybody's talking about and protect them all by keeping oil and gas and coal on the ground. So I'm going to share a slide. It's a very simple one. And this is what we need. If we want to be able to do this, we want to be able to create a new market. Actually, this is not quite the slide. May I just bear with me one moment? I'm going to replace this in a bit. Richard, you keep talking.
Very happy to keep talking, yes.
Oh, I know why. I just have to refresh the slide.
There you go.
Along there. So I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to do present again. Slide. And I need to find a new one and re-upload it. That was... Here we are. This should be the right one. Oh, no, it's still the wrong one. I don't know why. Okay.
Right, we'll go with the wrong one.
So we will go on this. So what we need to do is to create a market for keeping oil and gas and coal in the ground. What does that mean? That basically, how do you create a new market? Think about your phone, your mobile phone, your iPhone or your Samsung or your Android or whatever it is. How did that come about? You make it so that people recognize it as the thing to have, as the thing to do. And then you start asking, well, what are the ways to do that? There are basically 8 ways in which we get people to buy things. We think about people buy things because they are objects and things that we associate with love. So think of your wedding ring. You're about to get married. Think about saying, can you have it so that when you buy your wedding ring, the vendor is going to take a part of your money, or a part of your money is going to go to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. If you do that, then you don't necessarily need any approval from anyone to do. Reassurance of worth. That's another reason of getting someone to buy things. What's the greatest reassurance of our worth? If we have a job, is for our boss to come along and says, I'm going to give you a pay rise. And imagine he's now going to say, not only am I going to give you a pay rise, the amount I'm going to increase your pay with, I am going to give that also. I'm going to give the same amount as that to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. So that I know you will work even harder for me, because together we're going to build a business that is going to make a richer world and better future together. And if we can think about going to a festival, a music festival, Taylor Swift concert, or we heard from Larry, or yesterday we had Morris Halisi Monray, who's releasing a new album tomorrow. And if it were that, we go on and we buy that, and a fraction of that goes to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. And when we can do those things and allow a market to grow in that way, so that it goes into into everything that we do, when we go and travel, going back to our roots, when we go and strive for a campaign and raise funds for a campaign to help people in that way, and we can actually have a partial of those funds going into keeping oil, gas, and coal in the ground. Now, what you achieve as a result of doing that is the ability to create a whole new market where we don't depend on governments, but we can lead the governments. And where they can now know that they do not need to make people's life difficult, because we have already made that choice ourselves. And we can then bring that into conversations with other people, and the governments can then follow and help us along with whatever path that they deem is best along with that. And that is the nature of being able to change that ownership of oil and gas and coal. Richard?
Yes. Unless we can actually use our collective power to direct the spending, so we can create a market for these assets, we will never have control of our own destiny.
Do you want to tell them a bit about just how much money is needed?
It's actually a lot less than you think. People tend, when you speak to them about that, to not quite understand, perhaps because it seems vast, the whole area of oil, gas, and coal. But if you take all the spending we have in the world, all the things we actually use, all the money we use when we buy the products that we need and the services that we need, one day in the whole year of that spending would be enough to buy out the oil, gas, and coal industry. It works out to about 0.3% of the total collective spending we have as citizens of the world.
And that's on the basis of the top 2,000 companies. That's not all the money we spend. The top 2,000 companies take in as revenues over $50 trillion. And we just need a fraction of that each year for us in order to be able to bring about a tremendous transformation.
So it can be done. It's economically feasible. What we actually need is the conviction that people are prepared to use the right and the responsibility to choose over what future they want on this planet. That is how the economic model works.
And so to finish our call, this was an the result of an art project that we did yesterday together with Prism, an art collective, I guess, in Gothenburg, who are getting people to reflect on COP. And they gave forward a speech at COP and said, have a look at this and see what comes out. When I came onto it, what I saw was the meeting will start soon. And I thought that is not enough. It is not soon. It is now that we need. And when Richard and I talk about transforming, taking on ourselves that ownership of oil and gas and coal, and thinking what is the steps that we want to do with it, it feels impossible. So what we need to do is to believe in the impossible. We need to start saying that we will lead the governments. We do not need to protest. We do not need to scream at them and do those things. We can actually lead them by saying, what do we really want? And if what we really want is to take the ownership of oil and gas and coal and to be able to have the right to that and say we'll keep it in the ground, then we can do that. And we can do that now, because waiting is no longer an option. And we can do that simply by thinking about how do we create a new market for it, which is where you come from. Because a market comes about because everybody talks about it. just like our phone. We demonstrate what we're using it for. So we can start thinking about it in all the things that we do. When we start a club or join a club, would part of the club fees go to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground? And when we go along and we attend a concert, we can ask to the concert, to the event manager, I'd like you to do that. How about you do that? And we just keep asking those conversations, bringing it up to that awareness, as Dr. Sadi Khalid said yesterday in a conversation about the importance of just having that awareness. And those small steps of asking for it, and then saying, we understand, at the end of the day, this is my money, and I'm going to redirect it to those I think are going to make the world better. And that's how we can create such a market. And that's how the potentials of what Preston talks about and that he's doing with a single coal mine or several of them can become something vast. And we can actually have the possibility of locking down the oil and the gas and coal forever, locking away that 100 million example that Preston gave, so that it generally becomes 80 and 60 and 40. And when it does that, everybody will come to realize that we are on a path, we are on a migration already. So let's just stop looking back and look forward to that richer world and the better future. And that's for you. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. A great presentation, guys, there about transformation ownership. And as I had shared earlier in the first session, it's a conversation that I happened yesterday to engage with my buddies, after work. And as we were engaging, it came, we were sharing about local economic development, where we're talking about instead of communities relying on resource extraction, they can instead invest in local businesses and initiatives which will promote environmental sustainability, and that calls for maybe things to do with green jobs, sustainable agriculture, and other initiatives. But a question came about technological infrastructure, whereby adoption of sustainable alternatives may be impeded by lack of appropriate technology and infrastructure. So maybe if I would ask you, gentlemen, maybe what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that maybe technology will be a shortcoming in people embracing transformation ownership from where you sit?
The way we see at the moment is that the economy of the world is already being overwhelmed by the climate devastations. So yesterday there was a report of a collision in the Suez Canal. Just one of these accidents that happened, nothing particularly important. But the Panama Canal is shut by the lack of rain. So what the climate devastations does, and 80% of our goods of our world travel around by ship. And these canals are hugely important because they are hugely important to things arriving in time, in the way that our economy works. So these climate devastations, what it does is it's throwing the proverbial spanner into the works. It just slows things down, cocks it up, and then our economy doesn't work so well, the costs go up. And as the costs go up, our economy works even worse, and the whole thing just implodes along. And we are in the middle of this now. We don't see it because people don't talk about it in that way. They tend to go along and say, it's the government that's making this happen. But governments can't control the floods that are coming into the countries. And when in the United Kingdom, Cumbria, a region in the United Kingdom, saw temperatures dramatically drop from about 2 to 5 degrees to about minus 12 degrees overnight, with snow coming on heavily. And the country is not ready for that kind of temperature changes. As a result, people can't get to work. You can't get to work, your economy suffers. You have a certain amount of buffer in your government budgets that get used up very quickly. It's like our own personal budgets. It's always just on the margin. It doesn't take much to knock it over. And that's what we're seeing. So technology, we hope somehow we resolve this, but it's a race that's going on through. And what's happening now is that the climate devastations are overtaking us, and the talk of the technology is in many ways a question you have to ask yourself. What do you really want? Do you really want to say, I want my ability to control and keep the oil and gas and coal in the ground? Or do I really want the ability for technology to keep developing without anyone looking at keeping the oil and gas and coal in the ground? That is really our own choice. That is really our own question. That is a situation that we have to ask ourselves. Which side of this do we really want? Richard?
Yes. It really boils down to if people realize the power they possess, because our whole economy is essentially made up of each and everyone's individual decision. And that total becomes how our economy works. This is the ultimate form of consumer empowerment or citizen empowerment, or however we want to label it. But you actually do have the power within to enable you to say, I want this to stop, to the companies you are using to buy your goods and services from. It starts with each and every one of us.
And I should add, what we are talking about empowers the technology.
Yes.
It empowers the regeneration. It empowers the healing. It says those things work better when we are no longer poisoning ourselves all the time, every day.
Okay, great. And maybe before I bring Collins to this, and maybe you can comment on this, gentlemen. Transformation ownership, from where I sit, I think it heavily depends, or rather relies on political will, and with issues to do with political instability, change in leadership. I'm seeing like sort of it could be a great hindrance to the execution of transformation ownership. And for instance, here in Africa, we recently we've experienced several coups, and for example here in Kenya, there is change of government every 5 years. Do you think this could be a threat to transformation ownership? And maybe what's your thought on that?
Well, in fact, it's the opposite. In fact, it is the one way by which we are not tied by our political leadership in that sense. The markets are the most powerful force. The agency that gives the power to that market are individual peoples through their purchasing choices. And through that power, they provide the money, the taxation that goes to the governments in what they can do. And in that way, what it is doing is tapping into the origin of that source that drives the capital markets in that way, which is our own choices in how we want to choose to spend our money. Now, governments themselves will go from regime to regime, from political party to political party. And that is what we have seen. In the United Kingdom, we have had several prime ministers within a very short time since the time of COVID and Brexit. And they have had policies that have swung from left to right to left to right even within one party. It is incredible about just how you are kind of like made dizzy by just the changes in political direction as a result. The constancy of the people when they have spoken on It's For You about their purpose, their focus, and that aspect by which they are actually breaking up all of that embedded interests that hold us away. That constancy is the one that can be expressed within the capital markets, within, for example, if I go back to the slide I had, of creating a new market, making it the thing to do. So that when we go and we buy our tomatoes, we think, is this a tomato that helps my community? Is this a tomato that can help to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground? versus another tomato that does not do that. And what you will find is that when we are calling to be able to express our wishes in that way, the governments and the businesses will realize the customer is always right. And the governments will realize they really need the businesses, which is why the business lobby is so powerful, no matter who is in power and what may go on through. And in that way, you actually have the possibility that finally you can actually have that stability that you want. Richard.
Yeah, it's really is a symbiotic relationship, like David describes. Every business needs its customers and clients, and every government needs businesses to actually function for their tax revenues. Otherwise, the government couldn't be able to spend very much. So it all fits together, and that is what makes it part of the big economic model that is essentially the one that are running the show at the moment. So don't think for one moment that you are lacking power. Each and every one of us has that power. It's all about how we decide to exercise it. And this will never come as a proposition from the politicians because they don't really have that mandate. The mandate to change the way we think about oil, gas, and coal can only come from the citizens, the customers, the clients, the consumers in the world. If you want our planet to be looked after, then you have the power to change the current model. And that's obviously what I'm hoping that each and every one of you will think.
And to to summarize that back into this slide is that we mustn't be put off by all the reasons why it may not work. Because there are nothing that will satisfy all of those reasons. And the transformation needs to come from little steps. And those little steps start from believing in whether we should put aside whether it is possible or not. And thinking whether this is the right path to take. And then we need to do that soon. We need to do that now. Not as was shown in this slide along, the meeting will start soon. No, it is now. Because waiting is no longer an option, because the climate devastations really are upon us, because the efforts that we are all doing is being made more and more fragile as the continual burning of oil and gas and coke continues. And we can have that possibility to say, we can put a lid on that. And that is our call.
Okay, thank you. Well put. Thanks for that clarification, David and Richard. And it has also answered, one of the questions that came up yesterday about, access to market, where, where somebody has challenged if whether the sustainable alternatives would be able to compete favorably with the already existing, approaches in the market that maybe depend on fossil fuels. And that choice to decide whether do I need this, do I need to buy tomatoes from the person I feel he contributes better to the environment matters, or the other person. So you've really clarified that, and it's that in order. And one thing I love about the nature of transformation ownership, it's that when it comes to decision making, it's community based, in the sense that it's members of the community or other people who are living around the same geographical area who decide on how to handle their natural resources. So they may decide not to extract, their resources for temporal profit, short-term profit, and instead, excuse that for long-term environmental, impact to the environment. So it's really an interesting concept, and I hope that we're able to get there. We're able to have it, adopted by the economy right now, because it's the only way out. So we're almost winding up. So final thoughts, gentlemen, about the conversation that you're having.
Well, I think I would like to do it by if I may, by just showing that slide, except this is the version that I wanted to, as I mentioned before. And really, what I would like us to do and calling for is to create this new market. A market to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. And to allow that to be part of, our wedding celebration, to be the special treats we buy for ourselves. For our employers to be saying, I value you, therefore I'm doing this as well. When we join a club, we know we're joining one that's doing that for us. So it's protecting our future as we go. And, when I am reaching myself, I'm getting on. What do I want to leave in my will? What's the best legacy for the future? What's the best way for the world to know me? And when I'm traveling around the world, I will know that even though I'm traveling around the world and visiting all these places and doing all these things, every part of it I'm engaging, the money I spend, goes into people who are spending a part of it to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. And that would be such a fantastic point. This would be a starting point of conversation with everybody around the world, no matter where I am. I will be able to say, look at that, it's for you. And that can be the start. And when we go to our concerts and play our lotteries and hope for the winnings, all of those things are part of this market to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. And why? Because it's the thing to do. That's what I would like to see. Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah, not much to add to that, I'm afraid. We need to come to the point where we can see that this is the only way for us to affect the outcome which most of us want to affect and have a say about. It's about some form of climate democracy. But what it also does, it actually puts a price tag on what our use of oil, gas, and coal costs us. And it's a lot less than most people think. And it can be done because our current economic system allows it to be done. Just like Preston says, you buy it, then you are the new owner with the new governance right over how you want these assets to be treated. And if you want to keep it in the ground, that's the only way that allows you to keep it in the ground.
And it's economic. And it's economical because people will help you along. The people who initially put the money up can see some better return for it. And for the money that can go in there, you can have it so that part of it goes to support the regeneration and the healing. So the healing now comes from putting out the fire. Instead of at the moment, we grow the forest so we can light the fire even more, which is just the wrong way of dealing with our carbon credits. And so that's what those will be our last our closing words.
Indeed, it can be done, and it's for you.
And thank you very much for the opportunity, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're much welcome. You're much welcome. It's been really an incredible conversation. We thought intriguing questions, and also with great insights from it. And we can't thank you more for that. And just to make us more in the think about that, we're going to have a track by Larry Dwayne talking about transformation ownership as we prepare for the next conversation, where we're going to bring in the team from EACCGN to come and just share with us some of the thoughts that they have towards transforming climate action into sustainable sources of livelihoods. So for now, thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's listen to Larry Dwayne.
Thank you.
Dignity is the key to unlock your consciousness towards the environment. Yeah, nature is alive and nature has feelings. Don't you hurt its feelings. You are human and just stop being the reason why nature ain't healing. Good does not come from having good intentions or even by acting on them. But good comes from accepting that the good dreaming of a day when we shall heal the world. Transform yourself, it's for you, it's the solution. A limit to oil, gas. gas and coal makes me happy. This world is all we got, so we must save the planet, save it now. Yeah. Good originates from accepting that there are limits. Good comes from limits. Rethink those choices, chunga vile una purchase. Think of your consumption. What's the point? I mean, transformational ownership is for you. It's for you, yeah. Are you ready now? Are you dreaming of a day when we shall heal the world? Transform yourself, it's for you, it's the solution. A limit to oil, gas and coal makes me happy. This world is all we got, so we must save the planet, save it now. Yeah. Dancing in the rain, what gives you joy? Owning my challenges, what gives you joy? Being alive, what gives you joy? Having fun, hey. Transformational ownership, yeah. Hey yo, listen, everyone, you are welcome to the party. Dreaming of a day when we shall heal the world. Transform yourself, it's for you, it's the solution. A limit to oil, gas and coal makes me happy. This world is all we got, so we must save the planet, save it now, yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. It was a nice way of, just reminding us that we ought to, preserve dignity of our planet, by putting a limit to oil, coal, and gas. It was a nice conversation, and just it was the best way to end that conversation, and just to make it sink into our minds. And right now, as I had promised you, we are going to have an engagement with guys from EACCGN, which is a youth network here in Africa, called East African College and Campus Green Network. And I want to welcome them to the stage to come and just engage with us, share some insightful conversation. I mean, previously from the conversations that we've had, we've appreciated the fact that when youth are given an opportunity, they are able to to do exploits as far as taking care of environment is concerned. From what the Girl Guides are doing, from an interesting innovation that we had yesterday about called Mchaka, that is creating livelihood by having people recycle their plastics. So we for that reason we are great to see what young people have and what solutions that they have, and therefore it will be an interesting thing to have a conversation with them. And my colleague Collins, maybe let me hear from you from that other side.
Oh, well, thank you, Tim, and it's been exciting just following up. And sorry I missed you a bit because of the power issues here, but very interesting conversation with David and Richard. And I think we need to keep talking and sharing those brilliant ideas about the economics, and just also realizing that actually, Tim, as as where you are seated, the power is in your in your hands. That the decision you make can actually influence your neighbor and the rest, and that can actually help us to keep the forces in the ground. So amazing, and I look forward on having the second session of how actually we get to hear more about the same discussion. We are joined by a team from the East African campuses and colleges Green Network, hoping to get more of them joining now, and looking forward to hear from them their experience, the kind of projects and work they have been working around in East Africa. We have Antonio Nyango. I can see Mr. Nan. Who else? And we have Bravin. So I will request that they actually get their cameras on as we kick this off. Hello, Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
Hello,
Onyango,
Collins.
how are you?
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Thank
I'm
you.
good. How are you?
We're doing well and glad to have you on the show today. I can see my friend Anan. I think he's on the road now. Just want to ensure whether Anan, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, I can. But I will be Ashuka in a few, in like 10 minutes.
All right, all right. Thank you so much. Bravin, Bravin, can you have your camera on? Okay, so maybe, Tim, what do you think? I think we'll have to start with the Onyango and probably allow Anand to probably where he's traveling to be able to actually engage with us in the discussion because of the background noise. So probably I'll bring in Onyango. Probably you can introduce yourself and just briefly tell us your experience, how you got connected to the EACCGN, and what does that mean to you as a young person and a student as well, and the project that you have actually been engaged with. So welcome. Sorry, Tim. I think we missed Onyango.
It's okay.
So, Tim, maybe, it's fine. I know maybe they have issues with the connectivity internet, but as we wait for them to just join us again, probably from the few months, Tim, you have connected with the student network. How has it been? How did you get to connect with them? What has been your highlights in terms of their work and actually their passion for turning climate actions into livelihoods?
Great. So for me, I think one is the motivation and the awareness, because that is where it all begins, and that for me has been really interesting to see that one, they are aware that there's something that ought to be done, and then they are motivated to do it. So if, for example, if it's a tree planting activity, they are aware that I need to plant trees, and so that I can be able to enjoy a good serene environment, and then having understood that, and then they get motivated. So I think that for me has been one observation that I've made from these young people, and it's really incredibly amazing. And other than that, also it's having the entrepreneurial ideas, because for sustainability of these projects or these engagements that they're having, it has also to create income as well for it to be sustainable. So seeing them, think along how they can be able to earn livelihood from it has really been interesting. Yesterday listening to Mtaka, seeing that they've come up with an innovation whereby you take your plastic waste and you're given a packet of, you can substitute that, you can redeem that, sorry, with a packet of milk. See, that shows its sustainability. So that for me has also been something so interesting to see young people doing. And also community engagement, whereby these projects have to be people-centered. There's a time we had an interview with we had a session with Richard, and I was sharing with him of this interesting project that we embarked on some time back, whereby we were trying to we saw a niche we saw a problem at the northern part of Kenya, whereby we were seeing that women had to travel or are traveling long distance to go and get water. And we thought, how about if we bring this water closer to them by doing drilling a borehole, not first understanding the culture of those people. The culture was, it was a patriarchal society, and women were just allowed to stay home and take care of the family. And whenever they would get an opportunity to go and look for water, travel for long distance to get water, that was their time. That was their aha moment where they'll go and catch up with their fellow women. So us bringing water closer to them, we were denying them that opportunity to go and catch up with them, catch up with their fellow women. So our project ended up, not being successful. And when we went there for monitoring and evaluation, we realized that it had no impact because we had not understood them, understood the culture of that thing. So with the young people, I'm seeing that they're embarking on projects that are community centered, that relate to members of the community, and that for me has been really interesting. And I know from a distance, I can say that it's the chances of these projects succeeding with that approach are very high. Yeah, that's it, Richard. Collins, from my end. The few observations I had.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Antonio Nyango is here with us. Antonio, briefly just tell us, probably for someone who is watching, where you are studying, your study area, and how you have been connecting with the ECGN.
Good evening once again, Collins. Please confirm you can hear.
I can hear you. Thank you. Clearly.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Anton Onyango. I am a student at the Technical University of Kenya. I pursue a Bachelor's of Technology in Science Laboratory Technology. And also I am a member of the East Africa Campuses and Colleges Green Network, the TUK chapter that was just launched a few months ago. So yeah, within the East Africa Campuses and Colleges Green Network, I got a chance to also be among the people that are championing for climate action through various strategies. Now, for us within the youth, now that we, the youth, have the most energy and we are the future, and of course, we are also living in the future. So we undertake in various activities. For our chapter, we are trying to bring awareness to as many youth as possible to be responsible on how they are living their lives, so that climate change that is caused majorly due to human activities, perhaps we don't be the contributors, but the solution providers. So yeah, within the East Africa Campus and Colleges Green Network, we're also coming up with a myriad of activities. We are looking into the niches that are there so that we can step in, make a living out of it, and at the same time make the world a better place. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. And maybe if I may ask, how has the experience been? Maybe at a personal level, what have you enjoyed? Have you been enjoying doing this?
Thank you very much. Actually, honestly, that not to talk of passion, but I was just not related to climate and environment and everything. I just existed, like life was normal for me. I really didn't understand most of the things to do with climate action or whatever. But upon joining East Africa Campus and Colleges Green Network, I think I've joined in several discussions, met different people who, through that interaction, I have been able to be more aware, more sane about climate action, environmental justice, and I think I'm enjoying it. I can say that I'm a climate activist. Timothy, you're mute.
Okay, thank you. And maybe if I may ask, maybe what are some of the challenges that you've experienced, in your engagements with these projects that you'd want to share?
Oh, okay. So first of all, you see, like just like I was in my situation where I was not really concerned about what's going on. Most of my peers are also in that category. So you find that in order to introduce them to this, most people look at it from a point where, what am I gaining? You see, what is in for you? And it's even better to say that East Africa Campus and Colleges Green Network has a slogan that goes, turning climate action into livelihoods. And I think that's what each and every young person is also aiming and working for, to gain a livelihood. So the main challenge is the first hand information where you want to give somebody what is he going to gain from this, but gaining from this, you have to, at times you have to create value for yourself, because value is not given to everyone. So I, at times it becomes very difficult for somebody who expects something offered. Mostly for people who expect something like, you give me a product or a money firsthand, and this being a non-profit organization, so at times it becomes a challenge.
Okay, great, great. And maybe just to switch gears, and and maybe talk about technology and innovation. I think that is a in thing right now, and maybe from the engagement that you have had, do you think technology and innovation can be leveraged for effective climate conservation? Maybe from where you sit.
From where I sit, I'm almost believing that's the only solution. But of course, I must accept there are other solutions. But yes, technology and the technology is going to leverage some of these challenges that have been brought forth. Also, to mention that technology has contributed partly to the problem we have, but I believe if used properly, then it's going to be a solution. And of course, we are seeing more innovations that are coming up that are going to
Sorry, Anyongo, you've muted yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was mentioning technology will be a solution, but now we have to look at it from a point where we are aiming for it to be a solution. Because if you talk of technology, then part of the problem that we are experiencing right now has also majorly been caused by technology itself. Because if we talk of the global warming, it mostly comes from the carbon emissions, and this comes from cars, part of what technology provides.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. And maybe I ask you about capacity building and resources, and maybe frame it this way. What resources or support do you think would enhance your capacity to contribute meaningfully to climate conservation? In and trying to turn them into livelihood.
Oh yeah. So first of all, I think we just need a platform where our voices can be heard. That's very main, because for us to, you find that most of us, we have ideas, but now these ideas, if we only share them amongst us and we don't get a chance where they can impact everybody, we don't get to sit at the tables where policies are made. Yet these ideas are part of the solutions that come as those policies. So one of them, the things that we need, the resources, is that we need to have to be included in the space of policy making. Then again, we at times when the governments are implementing some of these policies, you find that most of the funds are geared to provide these solutions. They are reimbursed to government projects, some of which are not even worthy. And you find that youth innovations or creations like now the EACCGN, where it's mainly composed of youth, or a chance to partake in that. So it becomes a challenge.
Okay, great. I can see Irene has joined us. Hi, Irene. Okay, maybe she sought her mic, and maybe nice Onyango to hear from you. And maybe I ask you a question on matters to do with long-term vision. How would you like to contribute to the broader goals of environmental sustainability?
Oh, that's a nice question. I think, first of all, but the way I want to living my life moving forward, I want to live in a manner that whatever I do does not become part of the problem. I think that will be one of the greatest solutions. Then again, I want to bring as many people as possible, create this awareness, get people to speak one voice. Mainly those who are around me, so that we start as a force. Then from that point we can grow up, build a community where everybody is uh, environmentally responsible in whatever they do, whatever actions they take, so that we can limit more of the problem that is caused due to our activities. And I also hope to partake in policy making, more so on implementation of the policies that are aimed to address climate change.
Okay, great. I can see Bravian has joined us. Hi, Bravian. How are you doing, sir? We can't hear you, sir. Can you be a little bit out? Okay, good to have you here. And maybe I can also see Anan has joined us as well. Nice, that's nice. So, Bravian, how has your experience been working? Being working with EACCGN? Kindly share with us. Kindly project your sound, your voice. We can't hear you.
Still can't hear me?
Now we can hear you. Now it's better.
Okay. I didn't get
We can't hear you, Bravian. You've lost you.
Still?
Now it's better.
You can. Okay. I think okay. I'm saying that I've had a very wonderful experience since I joined EACCGN, and yeah, I've learned a lot about environment, about the importance of having a clean environment, about about myself involving in keeping our environment clean. Uh, yeah, that's the negative side and the positive side. So the negative side, I can say that maybe making people to hear like this also has been a hard thing, and yeah, that's the one thing I've faced that has been a challenge. So the experience from the ESCGN has been good, has exposed me a lot, and I've learned a lot from them. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. And maybe Bravian, in particular, today we are talking about our experience in trying changing climate conservation or turning them into livelihood. How has that been for you? How has this changed your mindset?
The fact that from Kenya, Nairobi, we are having high temperatures than what was there before has hit me, and I'm on the side of we need to get back to that stage where we had that low temperatures, because it's us who make these bad decisions. Hence, we are facing the consequences we are facing. So I am of let's have something that's gonna help us achieve a better environment for everybody.
Okay, great, great, Bravian. And oh, I see Anan has left the stage. And maybe if I may ask question to do with networking. Do you see opportunities for collaboration with other youths interested in climate conservation, in engagement, having engaged with EACCGN?
Exactly. I've been to different events. For example, there was a conference, the economy is circular, and when I met youth there of my age or some even above my age, they we engaged
Sorry, Bravian, we are losing you.
in a conversation. We talked in that was trying to elevate. Now I'm better.
Yes, you're better.
You can hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, we
Now,
can.
when I met this youth, I belonged to a particular group that was of elevating a better change of environment. They were kind of interested. So when I interacted with them, when I networked with them, and they got to know about environment, they wanted to know more. They were like, "Can we get to know about more about this?" About networking too. Networking has made me to like to know some of the people who are also in the same with the same objectives of providing a better change of the environment. So yeah, networking in terms of creating a better environment has been a way, a link of improvement.
Okay, thank you. And maybe to bring Onyango to this conversation, we're talking about networking, the space of networking in climate conservation, and in particular, turning climate conservation activities into livelihood. And maybe to ask you, how important is networking and collaboration with other organizations? Is it really important? In as we purpose to to change this climate conservation and turn them into livelihood. How important is the space for networking and collaboration?
Oh yeah, I would say networking is of utmost importance. When we are talking about climate conservation and environmental conservation, it's something that affects each and everybody. So it's very important that everyone has to come on board, and it's easier to achieve the goals and objectives that we are set to achieve if we are all on the speaking the same language, and that's where collaborations now come in. It's very paramount that we collaborate. Even within the school, we also have other clubs that are champions for either the environment or climate related activities in one way or the other. So as a chapter within my school, we have always sought to partner. We partner with the environmental club and other clubs that are champions for environmental conservation as well. So I would say that networking and collaborations is of utmost importance, and also this space has provided a chance where you can network uh, above and beyond, whereby you meet people who are older than you, yet they can listen to you. Again, you meet people who are of the same age, and they're just amazed of what you have to share. Then you come and find out that they also have some new ideas that, when brought on board, can even elevate and create a bigger impact than the one you can when working alone.
Thank you so much. Just stick with us there. Don't go away. Irene, how are you? Okay. We've lost her. We've not really managed to have her stay here. So, and Anyango, thank you so much. And maybe, in particular, maybe I'll want to know your thoughts on that aspect of turning climate conservation initiatives into livelihoods. Maybe have you been in a position to sort of learn on or on more on insights on how well we can be able to do this?
Oh yeah, sure. In the course of my interaction with various people and organizations, Bravin earlier on mentioned the 8th Circular Economic Conference that was held in here in Kenya. We got a chance to attend the conference. Within that space, we got to meet youth organizations and innovations that were really inspiring. how people are turning this waste, the garbage, into something that can be reusable and something that is actually important. Then from that, they are able to get money. So, yeah, I believe we can turn climate action into livelihood. And it is even better if we're doing it in that course, because if you are gaining something from if you're getting something from doing an activity, you are more prone to do it regularly and with much passion, and with that, achieving the goals of the set to combat climate change will be realized so easily.
Okay, great. And maybe if I may ask, do you have like people you look up to in this field, sort of quote unquote role models? Are there people you look up to and you admire one day that you'll be where they are?
uh Not to mention individuals, but I think I've seen companies that I think I'm really uh, impressed by whatever they do, and I think I would love to get into that space. Either I create my own company that deals in the same line, or perhaps work with them. Uh, just to mention, we have Tetra Pak that are creating environmentally friendly uh, packing solutions for different products that can be used for other companies. We also got to make Takataka solutions that now are turning garbage into fertilizers and also other products that can be reused by these various companies. So yeah, I'm inspired by the work of some of these companies, but in particular, somebody that may inspire me. Maybe for now, I'll just talk of the late Wangari Maathai. I think he stood it all.
Okay, great, great. Nice to hear from you, Onyango. And it's interesting to see that you also are conscious of the people who are doing who are turning climate activities into livelihood. I heard you mention about Takataka solution. Really doing an incredible job out here, and that's really great. And maybe as we bring other people, I'm trying to see who else is on studio. I'd seen Irene, I'd seen Kaka, and so before maybe they join us, has your engagement into the environmental space sort of in a way changed your mind about what you would want to pursue in future, like maybe prefer not maybe think of not following your career, or thinking about how you can incorporate your career into this space of environment?
Yeah, it does. It does. So much so that I find that whatever I want to do upon completion of my course, I just feel that it needs to be something environmentally oriented. Uh, I seek to do something that is in the line where whatever I'm providing, even if I'm doing research, it's a research that it seeks to provide solutions of providing alternative ways, adaptation, that is, alternative ways that we can live, so that we turn from the conventional methods that perhaps have contributed to climate change, so that we adopt those new solutions. So yeah, I really feel so much that I feel so much the need that the career I'm pursuing should be in line with this work. So I'm seeing myself in this space for quite a long time.
Okay, I can see Anan is here with us. Anan, hi, how are you? Okay, seems you can hear us. So, I think final words, Onyango, as we wrap this up. What would you say to the world? As far as youth are concerned, and also opportunities for creating environmental initiatives to livelihood is also concerned.
I'd begin by saying that youth have the answers, and their youth should be given the opportunity to come into this space and transform some of the ideas that are solved. Right now, decisions are being made in Dubai COP28. Uh, we really don't need to be there, or we don't really have to be there. but I believe our voices should be heard from wherever we are. So yeah, I believe that the youths got the answer and they should be given an opportunity. I also want to call on everyone to be sane in whatever they are doing. Uh, I call on people, companies, corporates. Let's redirect their spending so that they can put it into something that, or to people who are working to make the world a better place. So East Africa Campus and Colleges School Network, I believe we are doing something that is going to positively impact the world, since a better world is for the benefit of each and every one of us. So yeah, youth got the answer, and they should be given the opportunity.
Okay, great. That's it. And thank you so much, Onyango, for making time for us. And at this time, we want to, have a video or an engagement of one concerning an initiative by one of the youths. It's called MTAKA, and what they are doing is that they are encouraging people to manage their waste, plastic waste, accordingly. And the way they are turning that into livelihood is that they are giving they are creating livelihood for them, such that you give a certain amount. When you give a certain amount of plastic, say a kilogram or 2 kilograms, you can redeem that by getting a packet of milk, a packet of flour, stock of airtime, and other things. It is really incredibly amazing. It will go a long way to encourage people to live sustainably. But I can see Anan is stable now. Maybe Anan, as we close this up, maybe you can say hi to us and also share with us how your experience at EACCGN has been, and some lessons that you've learned as well.
So, sorry, I've been having some hiccups here and there. So, my name is Anand Mecha. I'm a student from the University of Nairobi. I am a law student, 3.1, heading to 3.2 in a few months. I got to know UCCGN through our president and director, Mr. Karka, who actually introduced us to the ECCGN, and as we were on the ECCGN later on now, we came to know dates for your campaign. So personally, I've learned a lot, mostly making livelihood and climate actions, whatever we take, how it helps us. And maybe one thing I can recall back was we were talking about planting of fruit trees as a way of a climate action. And in the long run, you realize that the planted fruit trees will end up bringing finances and creating livelihood, as people will be selling the same to earn livelihood. Yeah, you've stated of the selling of plastics. Maybe people exchange the plastic with money, airtime, food, and so on and so forth. So I could really say that climate actions at some point, not at some point actually, mostly they contribute a lot to livelihood. If you look at it extensively, you realize this. Sorry to use the street people, street children. You realize most of them walk around collecting the water bottles, the plastic bottles, and other plastic materials, so that at the end of the day, when they weigh them, they are given some money, maybe, so that they go on with their life, money and stuff. So I'd say climate actions will always bring livelihoods, and that is not. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anand. And maybe some of the challenges that you encountered in your engagement with EACCGN, which now would be lessons to our audience.
Okay, of course, that is a good question. I think in all organizations, we always expect to have some hiccups, which are challenges. Now, I'd say they are not quite much, but there are a few of them. Mostly now that we are students, are trying to multitask school and the organization. So sometimes you realize when there are some activities that are going on, maybe you have a session going on or a class going on, that some, for instance, as we're talking right now, most of the members here are on with the exams. So I think that is the major challenge, and maybe the timelines when some members they have the capability or rather the time to attend, you realize some don't have the time, or rather the time overlap. So that's another major challenge. Sometimes it's hard to approach people, to convince people to join you, because now some don't believe. Uh, they don't believe, mostly now that we are the young generation, talking to people mostly who are not students, they don't understand. They think of maybe you are lying to them. Sometimes you even go to an extent of explaining, we don't need money to have you in our organization. We just need you to join us. And I think as people don't trust us, it becomes hard for us, mostly when we are trying to, for me as a campus director, for instance, from UN, sometimes you realize convincing someone to join you, something hectic, but you just have to push on because you know what you're looking for. So those are, I'd say, the major challenges that I've faced personally as a member and as a director of EACCGN.
Okay, great. And maybe what keeps you moving? What keeps you moving? I mean, you've shared challenges that you've encountered along the way. What has kept you moving all this long?
Um, I'd say the major thing that has kept me moving is, let me say, experience. Uh, in this sense, personally, I'm from Kajiado County, uh, which is well known for very harsh climate conditions and weather,
Continue.
because we rarely receive rains. And I'd say that from what I see happening, whereby parents, mothers go to schools to acquire food, I'd say it's not something that looks nice, because if we had a favorable climate, sorry for that, if we had a favorable climate, you realize they will be having food. And among the major complications of bad climatic conditions is that we lack food. So I'd say whatever that keeps me moving is you realize that people are suffering, mostly from the arid and semi-arid areas. They are suffering. They lack food, and when you see the kind of life they're leading, you realize that it's a problem that has to be worked on. And then another thing is that it's a way of exposure. You get exposed to quite a lot. People maybe you never thought of meeting. Inakufunza I think it prepares you for the future. And as much as I am in a legal profession, but I'm still working on I'm on the climate champion. So for diversity, I'd say maybe a livelihood later on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And maybe to bring Anyango also on this conversation as we wrap it up. Anyango, Anan has shared some challenges, which I tend to think also you resonate with them. But he still moves on. He still have, he's still soldiering on, and he has given us, some of the things that has been able to keep him moving. So for you, what has kept you moving amidst all these, or amidst some of these challenges?
Thank you. So I'll still mention that, like I mentioned earlier, I think uh, earlier on, I think I was just living, but now after joining this space, my perception and view of how the world runs somehow has changed. I tend to believe most of the things that happen that we consider as bad, there are things that happen by our own design, and there are things that can be avoided. So, in the same manner, I always feel that being in this space, I want to get people to see these things from the view that I have. Of course, I can't put everybody to see the world from my point of view, but again, if that's going to change how things are, that's going to make the world a better place, then I'll do what it takes to bring them to that, to have that point of view. And again, within this space also, there are opportunities, some that I've come to see. Also, the space contains a promising future. Like I mentioned, I really love to align my profession with climate action. So, with that in mind, I have to be in the space, and I also want to meet as many people as possible, network with many people, like-minded people, share ideas. I get to see how we can tackle the problems that we experience here in Kenya, using solutions maybe that have been effective in other parts of the world. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, great, great, great. Thank you so much. And you see, I can see Bravin has also joined us. So Bravin, we are sharing, our inspiration, in what we've been doing. What has kept us moving? What have kept you moving as well?
Hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, nothing that has made me
I can't get Bravin. I don't know if the problem is on my end. You are a
No,
bit
we can't hear.
too mute.
you, you still can't get me.
We can get you,
It's
but
better.
from a very far distance.
Saying that the fact that Wangari Madai made to and ability to change, to bring change to our environment, keeps me moving. That I too make can bring a change, even if not through the way Wangari brought it, but through a different way. I'm sure that even through research, I am a student of biotechnology, and that is more of research. Even it's through research, bringing alternative products that can help in maintaining of our environment, such as Anton talked of Takataka people, the ones who collect the organic materials, the foodstuffs to throw away as a waste products to turn them into a meaningful thing like manure that are again recycled back and used by our farmers. I think that one keeps me moving on. That yeah, I have to do something to change our environment. Thank you.
You're much welcome. You're much welcome, Bravin. And maybe final thoughts for everyone as we now close this. Final thoughts. Uh, what would you tell your younger self now that you've been in this space and you know better? And probably you're yet to know better. What would you tell to your younger self? Let's start with Anan.
Thank you. I think this could have something that I could have started long. If only I knew the effects and the impacts that the actions have towards the environment and the climate, I could have started it way long ago. Considering that I'm from the arid and semi-arid areas, it could have maybe impacted quite a number. Because actually, wherever I'm standing at Amplifier. And when you look, maybe you look around, you realize there are quite a number of plastic bags. So if I could have the power to keep it, maybe I have that voice. I get the voice. You do maybe a cleaning around. I think it can impact. So if personally I would like to champion the action so that we have a better tomorrow and a better future. And maybe later on to create livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And for now, that's why we call it a close. And I have to appreciate what you're doing, at EACCGN, and your impact is really felt. And looking forward to see the immense impact you're going to have. And for now, before we go to our fire show conversation, we're going to have some music because we have young people in the house, and young people have, great energy. So we're going to have some track by Larry Dwayne, and then as we almost come to a close of this session and we get to the other session. So thank you so much, gentlemen, and looking forward to engage with you more.
Thank you.
This is how we sign it. This is how we sign out.
It's Larry Dwayne. Alright, yeah. We live fast, we live slow, we love deep, we fly high. Live fast, live slow, we love deep, we fly high. We live fast, we live slow, we love deep, we fly high. To serve the world, we have to go fast into very slow. And rich people, plastic, fantastic, and poor people living their full emotional scale of being humans, where emotions are real. Look, the rich are asking the poor to stop buying shoes. That is all fine. If you have 100 pair of shoes, I have one pair. Let's support the poor to accelerate to the 100. We run fast, we run fat, we run barefoot. Hung loose, we are on the surfboard. Hanging loose with 10 toes to the board. Let us open the door of the boardrooms. We have the front foot, let us take the front door. Hung loose, go slow, go fast, hung loose. Use the front foot, better yet the back door. Hung loose, go slow, go fast. It's a full moon. Yeah, it's a full moon. It's a full moon. Take a picture. Yeah, full moon. Fast, we live slow, we love deep, we fly high. Live fast, live slow, we love deep and fly high. We live fast, live slow, we love deep and fly high. We fly high, yeah. We live fast, we live slow, we love deep and fly high. Live fast, live slow, love deep, fly high. Fly, live slow. Transformational ownership, this is the only way that we can drive transition into the green economy, yeah, that is the vision. Limit oil, gas, coal use, that's the mission. Need your participation. Do you believe we can achieve this transformation? Let us limit the production and give people the power. The earth right now is sour. Watupia wako sour. Dignity is key, all my people, do you listen? For me, I do believe that I have the superpower that can change the future. It starts with me, yeah, Larry Dwayne. I'll take an action, I'll be so active. Restore the environment, restore the ecosystem. Return it to the system, the indigenous system. How people, do you listen?
Collins, great. Great insights there by young people at EACCGN. What's your thought on that, Collins?
And thanks, Tim, for staying tuned in. Very inspiring from this gentleman and the entire team from the East African campuses and colleges, the network. I'm really touched by their passion and commitment to despite their schedules in their academic calendar, they are actually taking time to connect to the communities and just spread the word out there that actually it's good that we take care of our planet, which actually brings into essence just what you are discussing about the MTACA, the discussions we have had from the different people across different countries, and the idea about how they actually also turn this into livelihoods. And I remember, when we kicked off the discussion with David and Richard about, the economics and how that works around our livelihoods. I think connecting that to what the EACCGN is actually doing presents to us a good platform where actually young people take the lead into not just spreading the awareness and climate education, but also ensuring that that avenue also provide for them their own livelihoods as students. So yeah, I'm really inspired and looking forward also to getting discussions from the rest who I believe they're actually doing the exams I think this week and the coming week, but hoping to connect with the rest as well. Yes, Tim, over to you.
Much. It's really great, and that's really awesome. And I was impressed by what they're doing. I mean, it's so it's so interesting to see. Some saying that they have to juggle between school and that this thing, and and it shows what it can take. When you've put your mind into something, and when you've committed to do something, which is really amazing. So for now, I want us to listen to MTACA. It's a conversation that we had yesterday.
This is so connected. I mean, this is what is. It's almost like, okay, it's a sequence of the first wrong step of building the concept of transaction on debt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole psyche behind it. There's a whole psychological backdrop to the concept of the way transactions are done in the world, and that is the thing that needs to be dismantled. That's like the Tower of Sauron that needs to really come down. And when I say alternate currency systems, there are a couple of people that I'm in the network with who are really doing some brilliant game-changing work in terms of developing systems and already creating beautiful prototypes of region-level empowerment. And these are currency systems that are based on renewable voucher systems. So what is it that we need when we enter into a transaction? We need a value exchange. But whoever said that the value exchange has to happen through a certain singular system? There can be multiple systems that can be regionalized according to, like I said, the dynamics of the region and the culture. It's completely the upside down. So I am known by the money that I have and not the craziness that I have. So or the talent that I have. Right. So how do we brand each other? How do we brand ourselves? That overload of commodity around me, in my person, by my person, is almost like it makes one giddy. And I'm sure that both of you would have felt giddy at the point when you broke off from the usual thing that you started out your careers with. And that is the point that we're trying to possibly address from different sides, all three of us, that how do we really land this on ground and make it actionable and be consumable by policymakers and then the people who are actually going to be a part of that system, people who are moving into the sustainable trade and sustainable supply chains, people who make the world really move. we've empowered them with completely the wrong kind of tools, and therefore, over a period of time, because we're creatures of habit, we begin to comply and we begin to fight each other, under the same system. So it's messed up.
Yeah.
I think I think the way
Yeah,
to go forward is literally allow the alternate currency systems to emerge and create those prototypes and just continue with those, because we are in the formative stage of that change.
I think for me, the approach we have, we are understanding in some ways. We come from working hedge funds. We view regulations as a way to make money. Basically, that's kind of what we think of regulation.
Buy our tomatoes from, but can we come forward to grow tomatoes as well and create that abundance? So it is literally, when you talk about ownership and responsibility, we are equal stakeholders of the entire supply chain that allows us to be and to live and to consume and to thrive, right? So these are some of the. I think it's been so wonderful, David and Richard. Thank you so much for creating the space and for allowing me to share all that I feel and sense and
thank you
learn.
for doing so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
thank you very much.
Take care. Take care. Stay in touch. Bye bye. All the best.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, that has been a great, interesting short video by David and Richard, and they were just engaging there. And right now we want to have something, Collins. How has it been for you, by the way? It's been 7 days now. How has it been for you?
Yeah, refreshing. Every day it comes along with new stories, new insights, learning, a challenge, getting inspired, and so I get up. I have no idea what the discussion is gonna turn around, and when I listen to the inspiring stories about what people are doing out there, especially the young people, yeah, it gets me strong day by day. And of course, the sessions, just having an opportunity to pause again for the prayer and meditation, that also kind of re-energizes my day in a very special way. But yeah, it's trying to learn through, and if you reflect back from day one, team, when we kicked off this, getting the stories from UK, Pakistan, India, all across our friends, you just realize that we have a responsibility to play, and like no one should stand to say I have an excuse on what I can contribute to making the world better. I think that's one of the things I've learned, and every speaker trying to just bring the point home about start from where you are, start with the little thing you have, looking around you, turning those challenges and the things that normally we ignore to look through, and actually they turn out to be the real true stories that we actually are listening to from our friends. So yeah, Tim, how has it been for you?
For me, it's been incredibly amazing, just to see that there are actually people who are doing things out there, and people who we think, it's easy to feel like giving up, seeing how initially that was my attitude. I was like, no, nobody's doing something. It's like we're doomed for this thing. But, having engaged with people here, and, and also listening to what people are doing, it has given me hope that the migration has already started, or maybe started a while back. It's just that probably we were not exposed, and that gave hope to me that it's just a matter of time. We just need to be patient with each other, and maybe as we allow people to rethink their choices, and allow people to do what they are doing, but there is hope. There is hope. There is hope. There is hope. So, colleagues, allow me to take us through
Fine. Proceed, yes.
To Taka.
Hi, Collins. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sadaf, we can hear you.
Hi, Sadaf, we can hear you.
You're doing great. So the guest from Pakistan, maybe he has some connection problems, but I have this amazing video you can play. I'll play it for you. The indigenous community from Africa, and then you can take the discussion from there. Inger is also there to help you. Can I play the video for you guys?
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
People of Mbondeland, we are dependent, like many other indigenous people in the world, we are dependent on the land. The land, we are born of the land. Our food comes from the land. And when we die, we return to the land.
We are Ololema, Kenya, Southern Kenya. And this is our wake-up call to the world.
We are calling upon you to take action.
Our worldwide leaders, please feel our pain and take action.
When there are droughts, it is us and our crops that suffer. When there are floods, it is our shelters, our crops that get washed away. And we deserve to be heard.
Shida ambayo sisi tumepata tangu hii maji kupanda ni kwamba sisi hatuna maji masafi ya kunywa. Juu imechukua pipe zote yenye inaleta maji hapa. Sasa sisi kutokana na hiyo maji chafu ile tunakunywa ambayo sio mzuri kwa afya yetu, sisi tunapata na magonjwa kama vile cholera, dysentery na pia typhoid.
Kidala jaraha mulalari naling na hanade ngangaro siwa nade ngasabu.
Erjanga sengir na wahani zareje. Erjanga na magana sokot. Paga ya gele Allah sengir. Yara sagrim irmoro janga. Ai amara ngasarabi.
Niga ngasiamu itu kara kedoli yoro ko laga ari nagara lari laburana na kusar ne bona na ngaude. Niga dola jo na ku gite ru kama sara ramuru kara kedo. Nek saga ko nagisyange ngaya mu jo na na itu ana ngaule. Amre na ngamna de nan lasma be ngamsi yoro masa amna dag na se ko mshi amu kile bimshi ko golle. Ne ru nyage niga nyantiri. Kisho ko gina ganga yana ha mu ke gira ga ishin arina.
Ore noti tenikidung'oki nkishu mbenek amu keponu ilameitin noogol naa kejoki yiok kulo apapa kulo nooru taake ormasi, yani tudung'o ake orng'asi la ning'ua lido orikito amu keyiolo ninche olchani orng'asi lorikito oirora olchani. Neeku tudung'oki mbenek tenteraki naa olameyu oewuo, tudung'oki elde likae ng'osi la nidung' elde kake mioru ake lido, mioru ake le kisulu. Itooruo too le kisulu, neeku kitodolu ajo ijo neeku enkitoria idipa ashomo enkitoria metaa amu mikiyieu ning'ua yiok ena tim alo nkoitoi esirkali peeton tenkutuk orkuak amu ore peetii.
Those global leaders who are sitting on the climate change negotiations in COP26, we understand the land and we are on the front line of the climate change impact.
Let's say wenzetu wale ambaye sisi wote tumepata hii pigo la climate change, tujaribu wote tukuje ili tupate suluhisho. Jambo hili limetusumbua.
Climate knows no boundaries. We must be listened to, otherwise we will suffer the most as indigenous people.
Listening to the land. The land is crying. It's spitting blood in the form of water. Fires burning. Is there anyone listening to the cry of this land? Mother Nature is slowly dying. Is there anyone to rescue Mother Nature? Aren't you ashamed of yourself about this? Are you the one responsible for this crisis?
With DataCamp, you don't need to download Python to learn Python. You can learn right in your browser.
with hands-on exercise.
Joining us now is Helena Walinga, all the way from Quichua, the people of Sarayaku in Ecuador. She's an advocate for indigenous people's rights and the protection of the Amazon. Helena, you come from an area that's been incredibly badly damaged by flooding, I mean, submerged altogether. I mean, can you describe to us how life is being impacted by this?
Well, yeah, basically what is causing these floods to happen is climate change. Last year, we faced floods of unprecedented magnitudes. It basically meant that our entire community was flooded. Houses were swept away and the entire community basically was underwater. And I think that says a lot about the situation right now, but also we have to talk about what is causing this and what other problems we have in the Amazon.
You've come specially all the way to Glasgow. What's the message you want the world to hear?
I mean, in the Amazon, indigenous people have been fighting for decades and decades. And I mean, I come from a people that have been doing so. Our main struggle has been to protect our territories from extractivism, oil companies, mining companies coming in. And I think that is what we need to talk about here in Glasgow, at COP, in the negotiating spaces where we actually are not allowed in. And it's quite ironic, actually, that we're talking about how our future is being negotiated. But it's not only our future, it's actually what is happening right now back in the Amazon, because what is causing climate change is eventually the fossil fuel industry, and the fossil fuel industry is very present in our territories.
Well, when I was a child, a long, long time ago, we regarded the Amazon as a lung for the whole of South America, really, effectively. But it's very far from that now, isn't it? It's in a very bad way.
I mean, I guess it's a lung for the entire world, and it is of great importance to the entire world. And I think indigenous people have had the road to protect the Amazon, but not just the Amazon, entire ecosystems in the entire world. And we need to be present in the conversations going on here in Glasgow, because the work that we do is what is, protecting all these ecosystems, all these spaces.
What do you hope they will do as a result of hearing you?
Well, I mean, the president of my country was just here giving a very beautiful speech about how they're creating this marine reserve, which is extremely, extremely important. They're talking about the Galapagos Islands. But he fails to mention the Amazon. And, oil exploitation is expected to double under his period. And that is extremely, extremely concerning, how he can come here and talk about how he can come and talk about the environment and what Ecuador is doing to protect the environment, when the work that is being done in Ecuador is being done by indigenous people. And while he's saying that that we need to, fight climate change, he's contributing to that issue with exploiting the Amazon. So I think for specifically countries like Ecuador with Amazonian rainforest, it's their responsibility to, to help us to protect the Amazon. But, we have other countries that do not have Amazon and that do not have economies that are based on oil exploitation or mining. It's their responsibility to support countries like mine. Because, I think a lot of what is going on right now is that we're putting the problem on other countries. A country like mine will say, okay, the big countries, and the bigger countries will say countries like Ecuador.
Do you understand when other countries like India, for example, say, we can't deliver as fast as the West is saying in terms of getting down to zero emissions? They say 2050, where people, well, 2070, while the world is talking about 2050. Do you understand that? You're sympathetic, or you feel India should be brought into line?
I understand what is going on, and I think that is when we have to talk about the just transition, because it is not possible for every country. We need to accept the circumstances that we are in, but there needs to be a international effort to support countries that are not able to take those steps. And yes, countries like India, they need the support. Countries like Ecuador, they need the support. But it's also up to those countries to take it upon them to take those actions.
Well, Helena Kawalida, I do hope that people have been listening, that people will take note of this huge journey you've made to alert the world to your needs. Let's hope they're really listening, and they
Okay, that has been great and nice conversation there. And Collins, that is a young person again, inviting people to stop the blame game and just take action. As far as taking care of our environment is concerned. What's your thought on that?
Yes, Tim, it's a whole basis actually of what we have been talking about, the it's for you, which means if it's for you, and then it means basically, step out, and make the difference. Because if you wait, it might get worse. If we're in a crisis, then it just calls upon everyone to, ask like, what's in your hand? Maybe that's what's going to save the world. So, and I'm particularly interested because the idea about the indigenous people and their role in climate action, and particularly on how their knowledge is particularly key. It's not just about decision making on matters to do with climate, but actually also how we can amplify their voices, because they actually really are in a very strategic position to build the livelihood that we are actually talking about in our sessions. At the backstage, I wanted to know whether we have David M. I wanted to just invite him and see whether we can, get a discussion close to the video we just watched. So welcome, David, and hope you have been good today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Collins team, and the whole team that has joined us, especially EACCGN.
You're muted. It's okay. David M, you're muted.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me now. Yeah, so as I was saying, we just appreciate everyone who has been on board today, and I've been around, and there's a video here I'd like to play. I don't know if it will allow us, but anyway, working on it. So team, I really appreciate I'm behind the scene here, ensuring that all is well. And I just want to appreciate everyone who is in board. Very interesting topics that we are talking today and addressing. And I just want to thank every delegate that raised his voice today in all the perspectives that we had today. Yeah, but back to you, team, as I try and see whether I can launch the video.
Okay, thank you so much, David. And again, we're so much impressed. I think for me, for the past 7 days, what has been really amazing for me is to see what people are doing, is to see the small thing that people are doing towards uh, taking care of the environment. And in Wangari Maathai's story, which is Japanese based, it says that that one thing that the hummingbird identified, it's one thing, and that was going downstreams and going down the stream and getting water using its small beak, and with that it was putting down the fire. And it has made me appreciate that the power of the small things, it actually amounts to great results. And seeing people in engaging in activities such as encouraging people to avoid throwing away seeds from the fruits that they take, and instead nurture them as seeds and plant them as trees. Seeing people engaged in waste, plastic waste management, people doing, young girls empowerment, the Girl Guides, So this small activity, this small initiative, these small efforts, are the ones that will ultimately, amount to huge results that we're going to, realize, and or rather speed the actualization of the, of a better environment. When you go and visit those people who do quarry, who size stones, using hammers, they crack stones using hammers. You will observe that that person might take hammer a rock, say for 100 times, and only realize that it is the 101 times that rock will break down. But interesting to note is that it is not the 101 strike that has made that rock to dismantle. It is an accumulation of the many hits that he has been making on that rock that has amounted to sort of result to the rock tear, tearing up. And that is what we are doing. Like the small things people are doing out here, the small things that tree planting activities, sensitization, the circular economy, managing plastic waste. That is what will amount to a sustainable environment. And I can see David M is ready to play us the video. So kindly, David M, take us through the video. Thank you. Okay, as David M is sorting us with the sound, kindly, David M, sort us with the sound, and just about to come to a close. But I must confess, it's been an incredible journey. First 7 days, and looking forward to see what it will give birth to. But from the response you're getting from people, it's been an awesome engagement, and the highlight of it is seeing the beauty of what people are doing out there, seeing what people are throwing themselves into as a way of trying to take care of the environment. And it's really been encouraging, and it's really been awesome getting to hear the speakers speak here, and the ice cream of it all, transformation ownership, which is geared towards putting a limit to oil, coal, and gas as a way of protecting our planet, because that is the only way we'll be able to control our resources, and in this case oil, coal, and gas. So David M, kindly let me know once you're okay to go.
My name is Kolis Manyasi, and it's for your campaign. And today we are joined with our guest today, and I would like her to introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Salome Wanda. I'm the Executive Director at Africa Center for Sustainable and Inclusive Development. Africa Center for Sustainable and Inclusive Development works with marginalized communities on economic empowerment, peace and conflict transformation, and climate change.
So briefly, I just wanted to, get your story about what you do. I understand it's climate change and the indigenous communities. Maybe what has been your story? What inspired you actually to launch into this space?
Thank you, Colin. So we work with marginalized communities based on population context and geographic location, whereby the geographic location is based on different dynamics and description of the geographic location. In Kenya, it's arid and semi-arid land. So that is where we get most of the indigenous peoples in Kenya. And then population context is based on the definition of vulnerability under the UN definitions, where we have the women, we have the youth, we have the elderly, and we have the people living with disability. So the reason why I have started doing this work is I realized that sometimes we leave out these people, not deliberately, but it's because it's not something that informs all our decisions, all our actions. So you end up leaving them, and then you remember at the end of it when things are not working, and you sit and ask, why didn't it work? And then that is where we now start thinking of these people. Or when now a donor comes and they're telling you, we want this component, is when it comes in. So they need to have a sustained linkage and sustained involvement and inclusion and meaningful one with these people is the reason why I started this work. But aside from that, my background is on gender and development. I studied gender and development at BA and MA level. So that really has inspired me, or given me that skill and the information that I really need, the knowledge that I need in this work. And lastly, it's based on my background. Because where I come from is one of those arid, semi-arid areas within Nyanza, and there's little or very less development compared to other parts of the world or other parts of the country. So I know what it really means to be left behind. So that is why I would not want to also enable that that way of life, that way of development, now that I'm an adult and I'm able to influence. So more be at a place where you can be able to influence decisions and actually do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Salome. You have mentioned about the gender aspect, and I would love to hear your views in terms of how gender is fit with climate change. And in particular how women and the group that we work with to build their livelihoods and has been for you and probably the challenges that you have encountered with respect to that.
Gender and climate nexus, that is very interesting because it's something that is so real and happens at a very low level, but also at a very high level. It's very diverse. For example, you find that whenever there's a climate crisis, what does it mean? It means you need the resources to live or get a better place. But most of the time the women don't have those resources because of the systematic exclusion that they really face based on the patriarchy in these societies. So lack of those resources means even when the adverse impacts of climate change strike, these are the people that are most affected. For example, you find that maybe during flooding, the areas that are usually impacted by floods are those places that are cheaper, affordable, the lands are affordable, so that is where these women will be. But also, even if it's not about the land being so much affordable, but you'll find that maybe because people know these places get flooded, so they are able to move to better places. But then these women, if they are in a, for example, female-headed household, they don't have any other person to support them. They will stay there. They will be waiting for that, whatever happens for them. They will find a way when it happens to them. They don't have the resources to move. And that is why sometimes people ask, why don't these people move? It's because they don't have the alternative that sometimes we think they easily can get. But when you talk about even the drought as well, which some of the things that Kenya really experience, the women are also still adversely affected because of the roles that they play, the gender roles they play in the family. They're the ones who are supposed to be collecting water, they're supposed to be providing food. We'd say that men are providers, but sometimes when it comes to the food on the table, it's the woman that the children will be looking at and asking, my mom, why are we not eating today? So they will do all that they can to provide that food, even during dry seasons when there's no food, there's nothing in these areas that they live in marginalized parts of the country. And also they will have to walk a longer distance to bring that water to the family for cooking, for drinking, everything. It will rely on them. So that means that is how they are adversely impacted by climate change. But it goes beyond just the physical to even the health impact on their lives, because, for example, when they have to walk a longer distance, it means they will have to carry this water a longer distance. That usually has an impact on their health. Most of the time you'll hear they have the back problem that doesn't just go. It's because of the longer distances that they have to cover each and every time. Each and every year it becomes longer because as we have been experiencing, the droughts, the dry seasons are becoming longer and longer with each and every year. But the impact goes beyond that to the livelihood perspective of it. These women are, as I have said, the food that we put on the table, it will rely on these women. Yes, the men will provide, but if a man does not provide, then it's on the woman to provide for their children. And when we have the female-headed households, what does that mean? There's no man to look up to. They have to provide for their children. And most of the time we talk about climate resilient agriculture, but these women don't have that information. And when you come to me and tell me climate resilient agriculture, and I'm semi-literate or illiterate, I will not understand what you're even saying, because the first thing is I don't know what climate is. I don't know what resilience is. So the fact that they are a little or semi-illiterate or illiterate most of the time really impacts their uptake of this information that we talk about. So there's need to put the information into a very simple language for these women to understand, but also talk to them so that they can define what even climate resilient agriculture is in their own language for them to take it up. So the lack of education or little education really impacts their uptake of some of these approaches that we talk about, but also the lack of resources, because if I don't have the resources, I don't have the land that you're talking about to take me to do this agriculture, but I don't have that land, then it will be very difficult. Sometimes we go and say, this is the best approach, but who are you talking to? You're talking to the woman who doesn't own the land, does not make the decision on how the land is going to be used. So I will have all the information, but I don't own that land. So when I go back home, I will have to convince my husband again, or my father, or my brothers to really accept the new approaches that we're talking about. So that is how the climate, gender, and livelihood nexus really works out.
Okay, welcome back to our Studio B. Thank you for having us. Salome, we were actually talking about the aspect about gender, livelihoods, and how your work with the communities, especially for the indigenous groups, is bringing this transformational ownership aspect. So I just wanted to hear from you the aspect of culture and gender, and how that reflects in the kind of work that you're doing. Tell us more about it.
Thank you very much, Collins, for that question. That's a very interesting question. Gender is actually impacting the work that you're doing, both directly and indirectly. One of the things is when you're going into the community, you have to work with the community leadership structures that is already there, because you need that ownership of the community, and you need the people that you already trust. But most often these structures have men it's male dominated, and even the youth are most of the time missing in the structures. So it means if you work with them as they are, you end up with the men and the middle age and the elderly men only in your decision making, in the people that you're going to plan with, and this will affect or impact on the people that they're going to pick and bring for you to work with within the communities. When you're having the meetings, you will work with the structures, but then bring you only men, and we'll also forget about the youth. So when you're doing this, we work with impacting or influencing the structures to be gender responsive in their thinking, in their actions, and bring in the women and believe in them and the importance of having them, bring in the youth, and also we ensure that the people living with disability are not left behind, because when you talk about gender, it's not just the women and the youth, but also the women sometimes the gender roles that they play in the community influence their availability to be included in these processes, in the meetings, in the discussions. So we try to influence the communities at large to believe in the importance of having the women in these meetings and in these discussions, so that they can be given that time, they can have that time to attend the meetings and work with us in this. But beyond that, we have the issues of education, literacy level. We know that the women, the people living with disability sometimes do not have the opportunities to get this information, to get the education necessary. When you just go to talk about climate, sometimes they don't understand what climate is, but you need to talk to them in the language they understand. So most of the time, it's talking to them on what they experience in those areas, and then you tell them that is what climate change is actually. So that is how we have been working with them. And the last one is the resources. Most of the time, they don't have control over the resources. They have access, but they don't have control. Especially now when you talk about land, these women don't have control. The youth, even the male youth, do not have control over land. They still have to rely on the fathers to decide what is being done with the land. So when you talk about climate resilient agriculture, when you talk about regenerative, you talk about agroecology, you will be talking, but where are they going to implement that part? So what you're also doing is to talk to the community at large, including the middle-aged men, the elderly men, to understand the purpose of or the importance of having these people in meaningful way in the various development actions. Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned the aspect of climate literacy and education, which is actually a key aspect in what we are trying to do for the Eat For You campaign. And from where I sit, I mentioned about the student network that are actually turning climate actions into livelihoods. So would you say that we have the space for actually the students and how they can engage with the communities, and in that sense also drive livelihoods? And if that is so, how can we enhance that space to ensure that the link between the students and the communities bring about a lasting impact?
Thank you, Collins. That's a very interesting one. And the issue of having the students and going beyond the students to the youth is very important, because most of the time we leave them behind, because when you're talking about livelihood, we are saying they're not working, they're not paying taxes, they're not having land, they're not having the information that we need. But that is the main reason why we need to involve them, and not from their vulnerability status, but as agents of change. And as Africa Center for Sustainable and Inclusive Development, we have a project on sustainable and inclusive food systems agents, which is known as CIFA, which works with the youth and the women. We work with the women in rural areas, the women in slum or informal settlements, and then we work with the youth who are just out of campus, those who are in the university and colleges, and then we are also targeting those who are in high school, because we want them to be the agents of change on having sustainable and inclusive food systems. So this is also talking about the nexus between climate and food, which is missing in some of the even education curriculum that we have in this country. Even those who are studying environment courses, those who are studying agricultural courses, sometimes they still don't understand that specific nexus on climate and food. So that is what we are doing. As at this time, we are doing awareness creation, whereby we've had engagement with the university students from various universities within Kenya, and we've had engagements with the women. We are targeting going into the high school as well. So that is something that we have done at a very small scale level, because we are still a growing organization, but we are hoping we can have more and more of that. And why are we doing this? Because we want these people to go back to the communities and spread this information. Sometimes you go to rural areas, some of these communities, some of these families that are not so wealthy, are not so informed, rely on these people who have gone to universities to come back and tell them, okay, you've gone to the university, what is the best approach? What do we need to do differently? So if they are not empowered with this information, what are they going to tell the communities? What are they going to tell their families? How are they going to create this impact? So that is why we are working with them. They're very useful, they're very powerful group that we can work with. We want them to go back to the communities and tell them, this is what you have learned in my engagement, this is how we can do sustainable agriculture. This is what we can do with our food. This is how we can produce the food and talk about the entire value chain. And while we're targeting the people in high school, they're still very young. They need to grow up knowing these things. They need to grow up knowing that agriculture is not for people who have failed in life. That is what we used to know. Sometimes you're being asked, a teacher and a farmer, who is better? So we need to tell them, they need to grow up knowing that agriculture is actually a very important sector in our economy right now, and they need to be meaningfully involved. They need to take it seriously, and that it can be a profession. Some of us are already doing it. Why can't you also take it up? How can you do it better? And what is the nexus between climate and food? How? What are the actions that they can take? So that is why we are involving these people. However much young they still are, they can actually make a bigger impact in the communities. They can go back to their parents and also talk to them, tell them, this is what we have learned, this is how we can produce our food, this is how we can consume our food better. Yes, so there's still a lot that can still be done. It's a big space. We still need more and more people to come and join these conversations and these actions.
Oh, thank you so much, and glad to actually just get to understand that connection, climate, food, and actually, without food we can't talk about the livelihoods, and without food there's no dignity. So just as we finish, I understand COP28 is around the corner. You're going to go. Yes. So to those people, we have people hearing about COP, they have no idea what this is all about. We can't all be at COP in Dubai. Your message to the young people and to the communities who are doing this, taking small positive steps to make our world better. What's your message to them?
My message has always been and will always be that you need to do the little that you can. You have to start from somewhere. That you're doing is very important. Do not leave. Do not say, I'm not ready, or I'm still doing very little. Just do it. Start from somewhere. It's always important that we work, all of us together, and don't fight the other people. Don't think that is a different kind of person, I can't work with them. Always remember to bring everyone on board. We need everybody in this boat for us to sail safely. And as we go to COP, we've been talking about so many things. And when it comes to food and livelihood, our request and the statement that us as Africa Center for Sustainable and Inclusive Development has endorsed is that we need proper discussions on food systems. We need the food systems approach to be taken up by the COP28 decisions so that we talk about the entire value chain. We talk about the nexus between climate and food, from the production, the seeds that we are using, the inputs that we are using. How good are they to the planet? How good are they to the food that we're actually going to eat at the end of it? We have heard of toxic what is it called? Toxic business, or what was the report that was released on pesticides that are harmful, that we are eating food that is not even healthy for ourselves. What is the cost of having people produce? Yes, we want to target higher production, but the people eating this food are ending up with some health problems. What is the actual cost of having people eat this food, having people eat the food that is produced with high level of toxicity or chemical? Because if you end up unwell, the state is still going to use a lot of resources to treat these health problems that you're going to get out of it. So we need to talk about it. We need to really think about the true cost of the food production approaches that we're taking. And the other thing that we are requesting now, not the communities, but the people who are going to cope, the developed world, is that we need them to take the responsibility, and we need them to honor the promises that they have put on climate finance, and have a specific, inclusive and accessible climate finance for food systems. But above all, we need our smallholder farmers to be involved meaningfully in various decisions. We need them to participate actively. We need them to be involved from the beginning to the end. Don't come for smallholder farmers at the end of your program. Let them be part of the decision making. Let them be part of informing which programs you're going to take and how we are going to take them. And when you're talking about smallholder farmers, remember they're not homogeneous. We have women, we have people living with disability, we have indigenous communities, and we have youth who are most of the time forgotten. These people can play different roles within the food systems. They don't have to all be producers. Some of them will come with the innovations on how to reduce post-harvest losses, for example. Some of them will come with the marketing strategies, the digital platforms we have. Some of them, there's so many different ways and roles that can be played along the value chain. So that is my statement and my call to action to the different categories of people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Salome. Indeed, I agree with you. We have to be inclusive in our approaches. Food is key in climate change, and of course the gender aspect. And of course, we have talked about taking care of ourselves, which means climate is actually impacting our health. And glad to understand also the communities and the indigenous groups. So thank you so much, and looking forward to connecting with you soon, and all the best and safe travel to Dubai.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much. Okay.
It's for you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for you.
It's for you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for you.
It's for you. It's for you.
It's for you. It's for you. It's for you.
It's for you.
It's for you. It's for you. It's for you.
And it's for you.
Oh, thank you, David, for such a wonderful session and the interview with Salome on climate, food systems, indigenous communities, the gender aspect in climate, and it's interesting to know how food plays a very key role when you're talking about. So I can see Inga backstage and team. Some little music to as we come to the close of our session today. It's been a very wonderful session hearing from kicking off our alimentation. On David and Richard bringing to us the economic model around the fossil fuels and how we can actually bring the transformational ownership model into our discussion. And then we were followed by the East African Campuses and Colleges Green Network, the students' body, headquartered in Nairobi, and the amazing work they're doing across within the communities and institutions. I've had a chance to interact with them in their projects, tree planting. Some who are actually working on innovative tools on bringing ideas around entrepreneurship into communities, as well as the sports actually. Team, you remember the EACCGN is actually rolling out a very ambitious project on sports and arts and music, and how this plays into not just bringing climate education, but also a sense of shifting the mindset of how we actually take care of the environment. And I had an opportunity to attend one of their sports events, football, a powerful space for young people to showcase their talents, bring in we have amazing young people who have actually talent, huge talent, and they have never been exposed or actually seen. And I like the fact that the EACCGN team and the connections with the World Climate School and Thinking Choices are bringing this as a way not just to say, okay, we are kicking the ball, but it's actually about kicking it smart and scoring it clean, and as a way to get our planet green. And that aspect actually also is helping drive not just as I mentioned the education bit of it, but realizing that actually if you want to engage young people, then find them in the spaces where they actually connect. If you go to a football game, everyone, even who has never kicked the ball, they want to participate, and it's an opportunity for the young students to actually say, okay, yes, as you kick the ball, have an opportunity to get that tree that you have desired to bring into the world. And so it's been amazing, and Salome has winded that up with just telling the same idea that she's working with the students, she's working with the high school, university groups, and how we can actually bring the linkage between
Absolutely.
in the students and the communities. So I can see Inga, you are over there. How?
Yes, it's dark and ice cold. It's 6 degrees outside, and I do have friends working on small scale urban farming in Norway, and she's using this time of the year as a fridge, and you can actually you can go down into the snow and take it out some kind of greenery that can use for the Christmas and the New Year's celebrations. But at the end, what we heard about here it was mentioned by Salome, who's traveling to Dubai at COP28 to present the dignity of women and small scale farmers and bringing forward regenerative agriculture, food forest farming, how every school can have a fruit garden or kitchen garden, and we can actually learn to cook new recipes and mix with old recipes. Coming to the end, and this is really your skills, but when it comes to food security in a village, in an African village, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it is a community or like in a plot that is kind of belongs to the village, and it was a security for people that was not able to play on the football field, not able to play on the being a farmer, not able to harvest, but there's a security that you together can have a plot that is ensuring that you have food for youngsters and elderly that is not able to harvest themselves. How do you see on that at the end, the generational aspect of food farming in small scale security? And it's
Well, yes,
Yes,
Collins,
Kim?
go fast. Go fast.
Oh, oh, okay. Now, just agreeing with the sentiments by Ingan, saying, the crisis is actually a teacher by itself, and the whole aspect of what Salome actually alluded to about food, and the small concepts that actually communities can undertake, it could go a long way in actually saving a whole, like set of community. And if you look at that, it's connected to quite a lot of things, because it's the children, it's the education, actually. And if you look at the other aspect also, is about the young people who are actually not maybe in school, and they are waiting to get some revenue out of, they are jobless and they are waiting at home. So which means, they need an alternative source of livelihoods. And without food, there's no way you want to send even, a hungry child to school. And if there's a young man in the same household who is looking for something to do and they are still around the home, then without food, then you understand they can't even pick out to even think through on how they can go out to look for something. So it's an important discussion that we need to bring out these stories and amplify this message into real tangible solutions for our communities. Over to you, Tim.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Collins, for those insights. And I agree that there's been a shift in food scale to in a couple of ways. I would say right now with the technology, which currently it's continuing to play a crucial role in the food systems with new developments in precision to agriculture. Talking about even things to do with genetic agriculture, incorporating even data analytics, and also with climate change now, a lot of focus has also been put to see that the issue of food security has been addressed, and this has been through reduced food waste. People coming up with initiatives on how food waste can be reduced. Improved even systems to do with distribution of food. And also to enhance nutritious food in undeserved communities. So all these developments are coming up to sort of address, the issue of food, which has been brought about by climate change. So that's my thought about it, Inga. You're muted, Inga.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, you've been doing amazing. We are covered 6 hours of live webcasting on StreamYards on 10 channels, and we are exercising our skills in partnership between Norway, where I am, and Pakistan with Sadaf as a lead, and the two of you in Kenya. It's really, really amazing to work with you. And this is the beginning. It is for you, it is for me, it is for all of us. So let's empower ourselves and continue to share stories and to celebrate COP conference of the parties. So we have to be a party in the big conference on climate change. So do we turn up the music at the end, or what do we do, Collins? How do we
Yes,
celebrate at the end?
yes. Yes, Inga, I would love to have that second beat from Larry. It just gets us moving and refreshing, and bringing David to the studio. We know something is done.
Nature has feelings. Don't you hurt its feelings? You are human, and just stop being the reason why nature ain't healing. Good does not come from having good intentions, or even by acting on them. But good comes from accepting that the good
Dreaming of a day when we shall heal the world. Transform yourself, it's for you, it's the solution. A limit to oil, gas, and coal makes me happy. This world is all we got, so we must save the planet, save it now.
Good originates from accepting that there are limits. Good comes from limits. Rethink those choices, chunga vile una purchase. Think of your consumption. What's the point? I mean, transformational ownership is for you. It's for you, Are you ready now? Are you ready
Dreaming
now?
of a day when we shall heal the world. Transform yourself, it's for you, it's the solution. A limit to oil, gas, and coal makes me happy. This world is all we got, so we must save the planet, save it now.
Dancing in the rain, owning my challenges.